Welcome. So we're going to look at scaled copies and just kind of see what we notice about them. So on this first page, I have a very famous TikToker. Maybe you guys know who this is. And over here on the left, I have the original picture of him, all right, that I got off of Google or off of the internet. And over here, I made some copies of the picture. One of these is a scale copy and one is not. So as you may remember, a scaled copy is going to look just like the original, but it might be a little bigger, a little smaller, or it actually could look exactly the same size. It's not going to be distorted, it's not going to be squished, and the sides are basically going to change in all the same ways. Now, which one do you think is the scaled copy? Okay, you might have picked this top one, and this is the scale copy. Notice it's just a little bit smaller than the original. The height and the width of the picture changed in the same way. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a minute. Now, this one, it looks to me like the height is a little bit, well, it's kind of the same as this height, okay? But the width is definitely not the same. It didn't change in the same way as the height. So therefore, this picture looks a little distorted. It's not a scale copy. If we take a look, I'm actually going to pull the slide up to show you what I'm talking about. So for this particular one, when I made a copy of this, an exact copy, I was able to keep it as a scaled copy by pulling on the corner of the picture. If I pull on the corner, what that means is that, notice, as my length or the height gets longer or taller, the width gets longer at the same rate, all right? It's proportional. If I move it in, they're both moving at the same proportion as well. So therefore, it's not going to be distorted. Here, it's just a little bit larger, right? I can pull it back, and again, it's just going to get smaller. On this picture, what I did, and here, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make an exact copy of this one. And what I did to get this picture is I didn't tug on this corner. I actually just moved the width. So if I do this, it's going to get smaller, but notice the height's staying the same. So they're not changing proportionally. So it looks distorted, right? I can pull it back out here. Now I could do the same thing. What if I made the width the same, but I'm going to change the height? So I'm going to squish that up. Okay, that definitely does not look like Andre, does it? So let's try another one. What if I did this? I'm going to make this really tall and not change the width. Okay, so now, again, he looks very different. So whatever you do to one side length, you're going to have to do to the other in the same way, okay? So let's get back to our presentation here. I have another example. So let's take a look at these. Now, for this one, okay, I'm looking at this Fortnite skin, and I'm noticing, here's the original, okay, and I'm looking over here. Obviously, the first thing I'm seeing is that it's been tilted. But as I look at the picture itself, the picture doesn't look distorted at all. So, if it looks like this height here and this width here did change, it looks like they got a little bit larger, but the picture itself is not distorted. So even though it's slanty like that, that doesn't really matter as long as when you made this picture bigger, the length and the height were changing kind of at the same rate. So this, even though it's tilted, it's still a scaled copy, right? It's got the same shape. It's a different size, and that's okay because everything changed in the same way. And I'm also looking, all the angles seem to be the same from the scale copy over here and the original. So those are the main things that you're looking for if you're trying to figure out if something's a scaled copy. So let's kind of go over the basics again one last time. I'm going to move this so it's not in our way. So the basics of scaled copies. So the characteristics are the size can be different. It must have the same angles. It must have the same shape if it's a scaled copy. Some things that are not characteristics. The picture won't look distorted compared to the original. It's not going to look squished. It's not going to look stretched. And then this is the main thing down here. Changes from the original must be proportional. And all that means is that you must do the same thing to all the lengths. If you change the height in a certain way, you're going to have to change the width by doing the same thing as well. And that's the basics of scaled copies.